It's Monday morning and we're welcoming you here on Breakfast Central. It feels really good to be back. And indeed, we could say it was maybe a bittersweet weekend. Sad stories coming from some parts of Nigeria. But of course, good stories as well coming out from some parts of Nigeria. But I'm going to say welcome. I am Joe Hansen.
And I am Olive Emodi. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Between a plunge, between the trade wars, the tariff wars, as well as the increase in oil production, we're seeing a plunge in oil prices. And we're going to be having a conversation here in Nigeria about what this means for us and how we can better brace ourselves. You're welcome to the show.
And I'm Benga Bora. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Quite a lot happened over the weekend, and last week was very eventful in Nigeria. Let's hope this week brings good tidings. You're welcome to the program.
How's your weekend?
Restful.
Yours was restful?
Yes.
Maybe I was one who didn't catch enough sleep this weekend.
Oh, but so sorry. Actually, I feel like mine was a bit restful as well.
Okay.
So
sorry. Anyway, let's see how.
Do you know who else did not have a restful weekend?
Who's that?
The likes of Valentine Ozigbo, you know,
Dave Umahi.
And the people that are in detention as a result of the former First Lady Patience Jonathan.
And let's talk about that.
Yeah. Very interesting story. So now the reports have it that about 15 people have been in detention because they were alleged to have robbed, quote unquote, the former First Lady of Nigeria, Patience Jonathan. And now these are some of the pictures, and the stories are really horrifying. The conversation is that they have been in detention since 2019 and have been charged to court, but there have been several detentions, several adjournments of their case. And now bodies are crying, civil society organizations are crying, even the family members of the people that have been detained are asking for fairness. Now, one of the most heart-wrenching stories I read was one of a 78-year-old woman who has a daughter in detention. Her daughter is 57. Her daughter was detained, and I think her name is Deborah Erema. I will double-check that. Her daughter was detained, and whilst in detention, her first granddaughter died. That's the woman, the 57-year-old woman's first child, died whilst in detention. And now her last child, who's 16, just graduated, finished from secondary school, and yet her mother hasn't gotten to see her. And the 78-year-old woman is saying, look, allow her. She didn't steal, give them their day in court or whatever, but that the fact that she, as a 78-year-old woman, has her child still in detention, it's basically taking a toll on her. She's not able to feed her, she's begging, and sometimes she has to be the one to send food and money to her daughter in prison. And it's just a really heart-wrenching story.
Very heart-wrenching, to say the least. And I'm wondering why it took this long, but like they say, it's never too late to right or wrong. And it also highlights, beyond Patience Jonathan, because a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, it's Patience Jonathan that is keeping them there up till now. I'm sure she might have even forgotten about this incident.
You think?
It also talks about our criminal justice system, regardless of how influential someone is. And we've seen this play out just recently. We saw the Grammy Award-winning artist locked up someone. We've seen the Afe Babalola case. The judiciary, the justice should be blind. It shouldn't look at personalities. But we've seen a case in Nigeria where so many cases where big men or big personalities can use their influence to force the law enforcement agents to hold people even longer than the required time that the law permits, and also use judicial tactics like adjournment and all of that to just keep them in detention.
Now, in case you're wondering what it is that they were accused of stealing, we have here that they were accused of stealing 7 gold bangles and jewelry, 5 Samsung air conditioners, 2 sets of upholstery chairs, and 6 Samsung flat screen televisions valued at 200 million naira. They were also slammed with 18 counts bordering on conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit felony to wit, armed robbery, conspiracy to commit felony to wit, burglary and stealing, among others. These are some of the charges against them. Now, the question is, why have they been kept in detention since 2019 and we're now in 2025? Some of the people involved would say, exactly. Some people involved are saying that the reason, like Benga mentioned, is because there's an influential figure that has delayed this. Now, beyond Patience Jonathan, there are a number of people who are in court, who have been in court, who haven't yet to face trial. They're yet to take a plea, because of the unfortunate miscarriage of justice, the gaps in our justice system. But the question is, because this involves the former First Lady of Nigeria, you should assume, or you would think, that they would know better. And the thing is, Nobody is saying that if you suspect that someone has stolen from you, you shouldn't report to law enforcement. By all means, you're well within your right to report to law enforcement, who will do their due diligence, make arrests where necessary, and bring before a court of competent jurisdiction. And there's a time duration for that. The time duration is definitely not 6 years. This is a miscarriage of justice on all fronts.
We seem to have we have a problem that is starting to grow, and it's going to, if care is not taken, it's going to envelop everyone, and it's going to swallow us as a people and as a nation. I think the judiciary has come under fire so far, so good as far as I can remember. It has never been this bad, where the judiciary continues to be in the bad light. I do recall the CJN who spoke just a few weeks ago. She was like, listen, the lawyers, those who are, you know, at the forefront to enhance and ensure that the laws are upheld, the rule of law, they need to step up. They need to, you know, follow the right etiquettes and do the right thing. But then again, you start asking, who are those? Who are the people that continue to ensure that the judiciary doesn't stand? Fingers have been pointed to the executive. Fingers have been pointed to those who have power. I mean, I can put myself in the shoes of what just happened now. I mean, I'm sure you're aware, as my colleagues recently, where
and
you know, there was a theft. You know, my car was stolen, and it was stolen right inside my compound. And the first culprit definitely was the security guard. And of course, like you just mentioned, you do the usual thing. You report to the, you know, security forces. He was picked up, taken for interrogation. A few other persons were invited, and so on. Now, there were cases or, you know, avenue for one to say, you know what, lock him up, let him stay there for as long as possible. But then again, being a journalist, also being one who speaks about these things, you know, sitting with the police officers, the investigators who were carrying out their duty, it was made clear that, listen, you cannot detain someone for more than 48 hours. And therefore, it's either you charge him to court. Now, that is a different kettle of a fish I wouldn't want to discuss here. But the point is, if you're reminded, and you yourself should know what the law says and uphold it. So I was expecting that by now, maybe hopefully, the former president's wife will come out with a statement through her PA or SA, special advisor in quotes, to talk about what has been done and what will be done.
Because her name is out there in the public, and she wouldn't like this sort of
I don't think the former president would want to be associated with this, because he's been doing well since he left office in terms of representing, you know, the African body at elections, you know, always going around speaking
goodwill ambassador,
you know, goodwill ambassador, upholding the goodwill or the tenets of, you know, representing Africa. I never believe
there's
that.
so many. So another thing is, what would be justice in this case for these detainees? Because a number of them have lost loved ones, lost milestones. In fact, there's one of them who reported a certain Gladys Achese, she's a sister of one of the detainees, Tamuno Siki, revealed that her sister's husband divorced her as a result of this, because, I mean, I can't be married to somebody that,
I mean, you're
for a
not
number
around.
of people, you're not around, I'm as good as unmarried. So,
you know,
what will be justice for them? I guess in the coming days and weeks, we will further explore the developments.
In other countries, they could also, at the same point, you know, come together and also sue.
Yes.
Exactly. They would sue.
Because if you don't have tangible evidence to say that.
And then bring in the human rights, you know, and then say, okay, come.
CSOs and all
of that. Let's sue. And I wonder what the CSOs are doing. But, I mean, shout out to the Nigerian Bar Association, who decided to take up the case and ensure that they get speedy solution to this. Hopefully, it works. But away from that, let's also look at a very interesting wake-up conversation that also took place. If you're wondering what's happening in Rivers State, I must say that you need not worry too much. Of course, we do know that there is a sole administrator who is ready to pass a budget, and he has also spoken tough about how he's going to implement the budget in different parts of the state to ensure that governance is felt, especially in democracy. Well, while many are asking questions about why he's going to do that, he is not an elected, you know, governor. The House of Assembly, who were equally suspended, members of the House of Assembly were equally suspended, have decided not to just sit back and wait for the sole administrator to finish his 6-month term before he calls them back to office.
They are very proactive.
They have decided to be proactive. And you can see them there on the screen. What have they done? They've taken a trip to the UK to ensure that they understand more fully what their duties are by learning from the international community, of course, led by that man there, Martin Zamaule, helping the members to see how they can better govern rivers when they return. Now, this looks like some expedition. Looks like some, very wonderful,
a wonderful time to visit the United
enjoyment.
Kingdom.
I mean, the skins are popping.
And I'm just really jealous of them. I would rather be there with them to learning about legislative duties. It's spring, the flowers are blooming. It's such a great time to visit the United
They're all
Kingdom.
smiling.
So,
I've never seen them smile like this in River State.
my dear, when you are in a nice environment where nice weather is touching your skin, you are seeing spring, flowers blooming, and everything.
Why did they have to go all the way to the UK to learn about legislative
They are well within
why not come to Lagos, the center of excellence? Oh, maybe because of the Miranda and Obasa fight. Because before then, the Lagos State House Assembly was excellent. They could learn from the best.
Wisdom will not finish.
But Obasa and Miranda have spotted, so therefore they have to go to
the UK.
Or next time they should go to Jigawa State House of Assembly. It's very peaceful.
Your analysis.
And
sometimes.
Again, as an investigative journalist, please, where did they get the money from?
Speaking about where they got the money from, it's a very valid question to ask. We do know that it is from what we're seeing, River State's budget that is being executed by the sole administrator does not in any way cover this kind of trip. As a matter of fact, this is not the first trip. I think this will be the third trip that they are making that is from their own personal pocket.
Yes.
But I'm going to read...
Personal pocket, wasn't their salary seized?
Well, they are very frugal. They've been saving their money in anticipation of this chaos.
Stringy.
Yes. Anything people say, I say yes.
Well, these lawmakers, in a statement signed by Amewule's assistant on media, Martins Wachukwu, confirmed that the lawmakers, of course, had left the country on Friday, and they said that it would afford them the opportunity to learn new things. But I'm looking for an excerpt. It's a 5-day tour. There was something they said. They were thanking the people. All right, great. Amewule extended the appreciation of the House to Rivers people for their confidence in the House and their continued support. And he said, in this regard, the House used the opportunity of the opening ceremony to express immense gratitude to the political leader of River State, Nyesom Wike, and other political leaders under the umbrella of the River State Elders Council who have continued to stand by them through thick and thin. The 10th Assembly members prayed for an abundance of blessings upon their lives and endeavors. So this is a special shout out to Nyesom Wike for standing by the 10th Assembly. I don't know. I can't say if it's the one that...
Standing by, maybe financially standing by.
Exactly.
Also stand
We don't know.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They should enjoy their trip in London, and I'm sure they will also learn a little bit about peacemaking. Hopefully, they will stop locking their doors when people come to present budgets.
But the thing is also, did they go there in their capacity as lawmakers? Because remember when Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan went as well to IPU, and they were like, oh, she shouldn't have gone there. In what capacity is she going there as? Because she had been suspended. They are all suspended lawmakers. So are they going there their capacity as lawmakers?
Suspended honorably.
Have you guys just brought something out? That, have you noticed that in Nigeria now, we have democratically elected officials who are now suspended? There are plenty.
Democratically elected, suspended honorable
lawmakers. I think we need to ensure that we balance this.
I mean, you have to call it the way it is.
Democratically elected, suspended lawmakers. And they are still functioning in one way or the other by letting you who democratize and you put them in office that, listen, like they just said, we're still working for you, even though we're
you
not
can suspend us, but like they say, I do mind it's the devil's playground. So we don't want to be the devil's playground, so we have to be active.
I also want to ask again, when they went to the UK, did they look at the people? Do they like the way the country looks like? The air they breathe.
Of course, you can see
the
them
quality
smiles.
of life and so on. And would they be willing to come and replicate it in River State?
In terms of, that's why they are going there, to be honest. They're going there to learn
best practices,
so that they can bring back, exactly, that's the phrase, to bring back global best practices in legislation to Nigeria to ensure that we have, better government. So kudos to the suspended Rivers lawmakers. We hope that they enjoy their tour, their holiday, and that this affords them a great learning opportunity for when they are potentially returned into office or not. Whichever way, knowledge is never lost.
It's kind of sad that they won't have money for shopping. They will only just go for that.
Who told you? Are
They've suspended
are you in their bank account?
their salaries for how many months?
It doesn't
How
matter.
do you want them to go?
The people of Rivers are standing by them. You can't assume.
Yes, I'm political.
Please, don't be.
I'm political elders.
Exactly.
Our final wake-up conversation story. I mean, this came as a shocker to many, as it's a two-way street. You know, NYSC is proposing to extend service year by another year, so they'll make it 2 years in order to curb unemployment. What do you guys make of this?
2 years. Okay. Hold on. Let me get my calculator out. I'm coming. Let me ensure that I get this right.
So
77,000 naira.
that's a lot of
24.
that's a lot of money, you know.
Okay, they want to pay coppers
A whole
1.8 naira.
Whooping
In 2
almost
years.
2
Because they're
million.
giving them 77,000 naira now. It's a case of you will die here. Kill here for 2
You don't
years.
have any
You
other
walk.
things to do. I mean, people are already talking about scrapping the NYSC, that it's not fit for purpose anymore, and it's outlived its usefulness.
So-
and the government is now talking about extending. I think the Minister of Education just expressed a personal opinion. I don't think
Let me
it's
read a
official
number of the
policy.
things that
Yes.
the Minister of Education, Olatunji Alausa, had said. So he had advocated for the extension of the national service from 1 to 2 years with the expansion of NYSC skill acquisition and entrepreneurship development training program content for core members. He also advocated for the deployment of more graduate teachers to serve in rural schools, saying this would fill the manpower gap in the schools, after, of course, commending the management of NYSC for its proactive and digitalized efforts in the mobilization process aimed at curbing certificate racketeering involving some foreign trained graduates within West Africa. My take on this would be, everyone, I have said it 1,001 times on this show, my position on NYSC, right? And I think that what we have currently is not working. The goal of NYSC was to ensure that we created a united Nigeria after, it was an offshoot of the Civil War, to see that we made Nigeria one nation, we made Nigeria, like they would say, one nation under God. But it hasn't quite panned out that way. We've been very divided along ethnic and political lines. As a matter of fact, there are people who get posted to certain parts in the country, certain parts in northern Nigeria, that will say, no, I'm not going there. I'll wait, I'll apply another year, or find a way to work my way back to Lagos. We're not going to be oblivious of the fact that these things happen, right? So I would say that the system we have is currently not working.
It wasn't, okay, I'll let you complete your...
Okay, the system we have, I don't think it's currently working. Now, there are people, that is not to say that the NYSC system is entirely flawed, because there are people who get, from their PPA, they get job appointments, there are people who have opportunities, even the entrepreneurship training, skill acquisition within the NYSC affords some people the opportunity to realize, you know what, I don't want to work my certificate. I've learned a skill here, or whilst waiting to get a job, I can use a skill learned in camp to diversify my financial, my income.
Yes.
So what I would say is, I'm not in support of 2 years.
Okay.
If we are going to continue with the 1 year as is, we need to refurbish the system. We need to rework the system. Otherwise, we need to completely dismantle it because it's not working. I said that NYSC feels like a punishment for going to school, like it's punishment for going to university.
Now, I disagree, and I feel you shouldn't throw away the baby and the bathwater.
All right.
There are good things that have come out of NYSC, like you rightly acknowledged too. And we just need to reform the system.
Yeah, that's
to
why I
make
said
it
it's either of two
more
things.
fit for purpose.
Yeah.
And that 2 years is a no-no.
Okay, you disagree with the 2 years.
We shouldn't even have that.
Yeah, so that's why I said it's either we
but
rebrand
some
what we have,
people, I
or we
mean,
totally scrap it.
Like, it's their first opportunity to interact with Nigerians from different parts of the country, and also their first opportunity to travel outside where they schooled or grew up. So it has a way of fostering national unity, even up till today.
You think it's fostering national
yes,
unity?
I think so. You interact with people from different parts of the country. But how they go about it, or the postings, the security issues, is another kettle of fish, which can be solved in the long term. I don't think parts of Nigeria will be under security threats.
Okay, let's beg to disagree.
Yeah.
I think I agree with the minister. Yes,
2 years.
2 years, I agree. Nigerians, relax. I agree with him, and I'll tell you why I agree with him. I thought about this yesterday carefully. What I don't agree, or what I may not agree with him, is the process. Now let's think about this. We are talking about lack of jobs, okay? So if you have people serving under the NYSC, and they are possibly at schools or so on and so forth, I think it shouldn't just be an extension. It should be an extension. Let's give it a new name. Maybe after you serve for 1 year, let's call it maybe a governmental extension of whatever. Maybe
Should
an
it be
employment or
compulsory or
something.
voluntary?
It shouldn't be compulsory. However, what it means, this is what I think. I think since the coppers are now earning 77,000 naira, when they extend for the next second year, it will be reviewed upwards to 120,000, meaning that you can be put under the government payroll.
So are
while
you suggesting something like a
continue
graduate
service.
trainee program?
Exactly. So you continue for another 1 year. In other words, it's still going to be under the NYSC scheme, meaning that you, after 77,000 naira for a year, you now get 120,
Okay.
and then you start earning.
So
And
the
that
question
way,
is,
I agree with Joe.
we all have different standpoints
people
on
will now
this.
get employed, you know.
All right, let's ask our audience, what do you think
So we
about
agree,
it?
just fine
NYSC for 2
Minister of
years.
Education,
Are you in
fine-tune it.
support of NYSC for 2 years, or do you
fine-tune
think NYSC is working as is, or do you think we need to rework the current system, or do you think it should be totally scrapped or made voluntary? What are your thoughts about NYSC? Let us know at News Central TV. I can tweet at us individually as well.